Man, it feels like only yesterday we talked about Shadow Priest in Alpha. Maybe it was yesterday, maybe it was last week, but it was recent, and we have gotten big updates for Shadow. Big in the sense of gigantic reworks, remakes, redesigns. It's like a whole new spec class, whatever, because not only have the Shadow Priest talents been changed massively, but also the actual priest talents as well, making it so much better, man. Like, I understand that I always get excited, but it's so good to see positive feedback being taken into account and added in. And of course, a little bit of disclaimer, it's beta, things are still wonky, and also there's a bunch of things not yet implemented, but what we do have access to is so good. And considering the state that Shadow was in, which was fucking deplorable, this is looking like almost a 180. I would say it's like a 173.5 degrees difference, but it's close to 180, and it is very good to get, and it does raise hope to get Shadow up and running, and also what raises hopes for us to be able to do content for you guys on a daily basis on our channel, cover everything going on in the beta right now because the alpha's done. Also with the class guides, tier lists, podcasts, streams, and everything that we have is the Patrons that are supporting the content in the Patreon platform that helps us maintain all of this on a daily basis with all the quality. So if you like the videos that we do and you want to support us and make us able to do them in this rate and maybe even better in the future, because always better, then check the Patreon link down below. Check our Patreon website. We have a couple of different tiers unlocking different types of goodies, of course, because you're also supporting us, but we also like to, you know, kind of reward the kind gesture that you guys are showing us with stuff like customized wallpapers, of course, access to Discord to everybody, and to the specific Patreon channel, monthly Patreon talks, which we are actually due for one pretty soon. So if you want to get in and talk to us directly, ask us questions about WoW, talk about the content, feedback, suggestions for future videos, all of this and more in the Patreon platform. So thank you for considering supporting our content. You are amazing, and it will be incredibly difficult to do this without you guys, I'm not gonna lie. So let's actually go into the priest and not dilly-dally around. First of all, needs to, of course, talk about the general talent tree, because it doesn't matter how many priest videos we've done before, the talent trees have changed. Now, a lot of the things are still in there, there's a bunch of stuff that's been taken out, but the positioning and the layout and the pathing is so much different that it is a massive improvement. First of all, I do have to stress out that you just have fewer throughput points. Now, you've heard us talk about throughputs a bunch of time, and we actually never really stopped and explained what that is. Throughput basically is a term that refers to dealing more damage or dealing more healing, usually what people are interested in when they are playing a spec in WoW to, you know, do more damage, do more healing, do bigger numbers in whatever thing that they want to do. That's basically throughput. And the problem that the previous talent tree had was that there were so many throughput nodes that you would probably want to get if you ever want to optimize your spec, that it didn't really leave a lot of room for you to pick utility, pick defensives, pick some cool tools to actually give your priest more options to do content with. And having those options now, because we do have those options now, just gives you more flexibility, and it feels like you can add variety and versatility to your spec to actually have some cool tools that, you know, something that maybe Shadow hasn't had for years, like, you know, Mass Dispel and stuff like that. Wait, Shadow has Mass Dispel. What am I talking about? It is healing, of course, because I know you fools wanted to heal with your Shadow Priest instead of Holy and Discipline. I'm joking, clearly. But let's actually talk really quickly about what we have. So first of all, there are two main Azurite trees that are coming back, which have made Shadow and Discipline as well really interesting to play in BFA and a lot better, and that's Death of Shadows and Throes of Pain. They're pretty close to each other. Death of Shadows also at a choice node with the current talent Masochism, but Death of Shadows is basically making Shadow Word Pain. When it deals damage, it gives you a stack of a buff to your next Shadow Man that increases the healing of it by 2% up to a maximum of 50%. This will make every, I don't know, 20-30 seconds Shadow Mend heal for a whole lot. And considering that you as a Shadow Priest will not heal that often, when you do, you want it to be an impactful global because you are taken away from dealing damage. And this is what makes that happen. This makes it so that hey, you might want the Shadow Mend every minute or so. As long as you're constantly in combat and you're keeping this buff up, your Shadow Mend will be worth it. You might be able to save yourself or save a party member, which is great. And Throes of Pain is basically just more damage on Shadow Word Pain and a little bit of Insanity Generation in AoE, which is something that you would definitely like, considering that it's a contentious topic to play a dot spec in AoE when things just die either really quickly or your dots didn't have time to actually do their entire potential damage. So if you still have some Shadow Word Pains left on targets that die, you at least get some insanity back, so that makes it feel not as bad to play a dot spec in Mythic Plus. And of course you have the Shadow Word Death talents, which are not, you already start with Shadow Fiend and Shadow Word Death, so it's not a big deal. You have Death of Madness, which I don't think it was in the previous version of Shadow Priest, which I like because I like sniping shit. So that's really good. Of course, you still have, which I don't know if we're ever gonna get rid of this, but it's maybe not that bad now. You still have Power Infusion, and you will have to path through it, which is in the middle, because you do want Power Infusion, and you more certainly do want Twins of the Sun Priestess. And even if you didn't want these, you will definitely want Twist of Fate. So either way, these three will probably be mandatory and be seen in every priest tree, not just Shadow. So, I mean, I don't particularly mind it. It's kind of gonna, these, I cannot see any other point in this talent tree being more worth than these specific three nodes. So yeah, that's gonna be in. Not only, but you can still, you know, get to these throughputs through other points as well. And the thing is, even if you do pick all the throughput nodes, you still won't have enough points to unlock the next gate, meaning that you will have to pick some utility, some support, some defensives, which I guess it's great because you're not forced to take throughput once again. You can get stuff like Void Tendrils, which is really cool because, you know, Mass Root, who doesn't want Mass Root? Body and Soul, which is something that personally I like to play with on my Shadow Priest, but maybe you don't want that. You can get Angelic Feather, you can get both. You can also get Shackle Undead. So you can get any of these or more Dispels or Leaps of Fate or whatever you want and actually put them on your priest and have some impact in the overall content. You'll also want to pick Vampiric Embrace more so than any other choice because, and Vampiric Embrace and Sand Lane, obviously it's a decent cooldown, it helps a lot, it's a good point investment because you will want to unlock Improved Mind Blast. First of all, because it's Improved Mind Blast, it reduces the cooldown of Mind Blast by 6 seconds. And you'll definitely want that as Shadow. And it also unlocks Mind Games. And Mind Games used to be a capstone prior to this, but now it's a talent that actually all pre-specs can probably get it. Definitely Discipline. And it also comes with 2 upgrades. You first have Manipulation, which makes Mind Blast and Mind Spike reduce the cooldown of Mind Games by 1 second when you cast them, which is great because you have more Mind Games, and Mind Games is pretty cool. And it caps it off with Shattered Perceptions, making Mind Games last 2 additional seconds, deal 25% more initial damage, and reverse an additional 25% damage or healing, so basically buffing the ability. Sure, Mind Games is still single target and that won't change. However, this particular side of the talent tree is the only DPS capstone, I believe. But you still have a lot of points and you can still get stuff like Void Shift, Mass Dispel, Divine Star versus Halo, which is a choice node now, which I've shot a couple of Halos. I kind of like Halos. Now they're purple. I don't know if they're purple because you're Shadow. I haven't had the chance to test them with Holy and Discipline, but if they are purple because you're Shadow, that is fucking sweet, man. Shit. And of course you cannot get you can get other stuff, but you do have room for more utility without having to sacrifice damage, and that's particularly great. You can actually finally go to the spec talent tree and you can look at the general tree and you'll see that it's better in a lot of ways. First of all, there's paths. Paths everywhere. You can go to anywhere side. There's 1 or 2 particular points in a talent tree where you're a little bit restricted, but that's not that bad because a little bit of restriction goes in the way of creating more creativity from the player. But it's been essentially redesigned. First of all, maybe something that the majority of people have been wanting the most is Searing Nightmare is gone. It's gone. It's no more. It's not a baseline spell. It's not a talent. It's not a passive. It's nothing. It's gone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Searing Nightmare. And now Mind Seer will consume insanity and deal damage, taking the place of your AoE channeling deal the damage thing. Mechanically, it's boring. Sure, it's very boring, And I kind of hope that they would make it deal more damage because I mean, it's not AoE cap, so maybe that's a good thing. But outside of mines here, you don't really have any other AoE damage except spreading dots. So I would particularly like to see more things going into mines here. Either I don't know, make whatever is in the talent tree, the lower and down the list baseline, and just put instead a buff to mines here, something like that. It's good. I mean, it's less clutter to your rotation, and it makes sense for mines here to do this, but it feels a little bit unimpactful. And of course, its tuning numbers will change. So with that out of the way, let's also take a look at Shadowy Apparitions, which is really high up at the tree now. And it also unlocks down Auspicious Spirits and Tormented Spirits. It's a choice node, and this was, I think, either in the middle or close to the bottom in the last talent tree. Now it's very close up. You can choose which one of these two you want, because it is a core aspect of Shadow Priest damage. And it looks like on the left hand side we have Dark Void back, which is something that I personally enjoy, and it's a choice with Misery, which I don't like casting Vampiric Touch in AoE, but it is what it is. And Dark Void can be a combination with Tormented Spirits, making, you know, all those Shadowy Apparitions spark and spot and spawn on Shadow Word Pains, which is particularly good. Now, as we go down, you'll notice that on the left-hand side, if you have been playing with a talent calculator, there's a bunch of stuff that's still under construction. Shadow Orbs is going to come back. Now, I personally haven't played with Shadow Orbs before, so I'm not familiar with the mechanic. I know it was a thing, I think, in WoD and prior to WoD, maybe MoP, but a lot of people have been asking for Shadow Orbs, and if you don't want Shadow Orbs, you don't have to pick them, you can still build it. However, it does go down towards on the left-hand side, and this is part of the talent tree, which is a little bit restrictive, but we're getting into that. Puppet Master also is not yet implemented, and I can imagine the prior Puppet Master that we had in the general talent tree last time we talked about Priest is not this one, because it would probably make almost no sense to have a mind controlling ability in a DPS talent tree, since it wouldn't probably impact your DPS in a major way anyway. So, and it's a very important node because it's just the way you keep scaling down. And just underneath it we have Harnessed Shadows, which is also not yet implemented. I have no idea what this is supposed to do, and the devs have been pretty liberal with even if this was a mechanic in the past, with taking mechanics from the past and altering them in a way. So there's no big reason to speculate on any of these until we actually see how the devs want them to work. And these three are normally important because they do unlock the tree down, but you don't really have to. And since we don't know what they do, maybe I can be more free in saying this, that you don't really have to pick them, because you can still go down to the choice node Mindbender versus the Idol of Y'Shaarj, which we've talked about last time. Mindbender is no longer in the general talent tree, so you can actually be a Shadow Priest and actually play Mindbender, which is pretty good. Now, Idol of Y'Shaarj is still the same old Idol of Y'Shaarj that we've talked about before. There's a new talent, which is Fiending Dark, making your Mind Flay and Mind Spike critical strikes reduce the cooldown of Shadow Fiend or Mindbender, which is particularly good because obviously these unlock Shadow Flame Prism, and this is the second big thing that maybe a lot of Shadow Priests, and I myself included, have been asking for, and that is to not be forced into playing Shadow Flame Prism. Shadow Flame Prism is a fun mechanic. However, the problem with it being baseline like it was before, because it was going to be baseline, was too much damage not to pick, and it was in the general talent tree. It wasn't competing with other damage, so you would have to pick it. Now, it's no longer that. Obviously, it's a capstone. It actually competes with other playstyles, which means that you're not forced to add this playstyle on top of another playstyle, making your rotation a fucking nightmare. Also, if you don't want to, you can just not pick it, and that's that, because from Mindbender you do actually path towards, you know, slightly towards the middle and to other capstones as well. So if for some reason you want all the talents on the left but not Shadow Flame Prism, you can build it that way and do your thing. And we can talk about now the middle side of the talent tree, which is generic in the sense that it has like core mechanics of Shadow Priest, but also feels like it's more single target focused. So this could be where you were spending most of your points, especially if you are raiding. First of all, we have Mind Spike, which, if I'm not mistaken, this was a spell that we had before. I don't know if it was working in the same sense that it is working now. So right now, it's a 1.5 second cast. If you cast it, you blast decent single target damage, but you essentially clear all your dots on your target. And on top of that, it increases the critical strike chance of your next Mind Blast by 30%, stacking up to 3 times, and it generates 6 insanity. So essentially, this is supposed to buff your single target Mind Blast, which is really good. And it kind of sucks that it clears your dots, which is something that we will have to discuss if how it will affect your playstyle, because you might say you do have damnation on the left hand side, so let's say reapply those dots if you so desire, but you will likely almost 100% of the time take Surge of Darkness, which is right underneath it. That makes your Vampiric Touch and Devouring Plague damage have a chance to cause your next Mind Spike to not consume your damage over time effects, and will make it instant and deal 50% additional damage, stacking up to 3 times. The buff itself, so you can have like 3 instant Mind Spikes. Now, I don't know if I was like, I saw the buff on me, I couldn't tell because it was very hectic and it was a lot to do. I don't think it actually made them instant. This is probably just a bug on beta. It's probably gonna be fixed, but this talent is so good that I cannot see it not being picked. Not only does it unlock further pathing down below, but it does particularly like negate the entire negative effect of Mind Spike, which leads us to believe, like, why would I ever play Mind Spike and I play this? Why would I want deliberate drawbacks on an ability when also Surge of Darkness adds positives as well? Not only removes the drawbacks, but adds more positives on top. So this, and the reason why you would want this is because Mind Spike also opens up to Mental Decay, which makes the duration of your Shadow Word Pain and Vampiric Touch increase by 1 second when enemies suffer Mind Flay and Mind Sear damage, which is good. I mean, that reduces the amount of globals you will have to spend on putting dots on your target, and that's usually what you would want, mostly in single target, but I can see this working in AoE. Usually in AoE, mobs die before dots usually fall off. However, if you play in a high octane situation, by the time you end up dotting all the odds that you want, the first one might have the dots almost run out. So Mental Decay again is probably going to be really good in both single target and AoE. Once again, another reason to pick Surge of Darkness. So, you know, there's that. There's also Mind Melt going from Mind Spike, which is going to be really good. Again, making Mind Spike even better. Mind Spike will reduce the cast time of your next Mind Blast by 50% and stacks to 2 times, and the buff lasts for 6 seconds, making Mind Blast instant. This is really good, especially in AoE. I've played with it. It's really fun to just walk around and slap instant Mind Blast. It is pretty nice. Couple this with, you know, the old Vampiric Insight, I believe. You will make Mind Blast be instant anyway and gain another charge, so that's also good. And this, of course, this unlocks Psychic Link, which we've been having since Shadowlands at the very least, making Mind Blast and Mind Spike deal 15% of their damage to other targets affected by Vampiric Touch in AoE. And that's a 2-pointer, meaning that it goes up to 30%, which is good. It's not something that we have chosen to play efficiently so far, but it could be. It's I'm a little bit on the fence with this because the left hand side seems to, this kind of makes so the left hand side seems to be low cleave, right? Because Shadow Flame Prism hits a capped number of targets. I think it's 5 targets, right? And then you have Psychic Link, which realistically you won't have Vampiric Touch on a lot of targets in AoE anyway, because it's particularly annoying to put on a lot of targets. So likely this will be like a low count, raid adds, single target, low cleave type situations and talents. And to kind of complement this on the other side, you'll have a choice between Void Torrent and Shadow Crash, always good. Again, giving you the option to specialize in single target or AoE. And this will unlock Piercing Shadows, which could be mandatory because it's generic and it works on anything. Everything, it basically increases your overall shadow damage dealt. It's an easy buff to maintain, and it works with no matter what other choices you pick. So the synergy with it might make it kind of maybe mandatory-ish. I don't know. It is a little bit to the right-hand side, so we'll see exactly how that turns out. Then we have all of them, all of these points converge on Derangement, which is yet another hybrid talent, increasing the initial damage of Devouring Plague by 75%, which, I mean, it's good in single target, but also Mind Sear deals damage 20% faster. So that's also good, especially in AoE. Now, although the Devouring Plague damage increase by 75% is particularly good, unless you pick a lot more Devouring Plague talents, which I did try to play with the Devouring Plague build, the value might be coming more from the mines here, but we'll see, because that's a very peculiar thing to say without actually simming. So we'll see how it is once we do actually sim. A cool thing is, on the opposite side, you have a choice node between Pain and Death and Mind Flay Insanity. First of all, Pain and Death is basically AoE execute cleave, where Shadow Word Death deals 20% of its damage to all targets affected by Shadow Word Pain within 40 yards, and also, you know, Shadow Word Death deals 25% overall more damage. So that's good. I mean, I particularly like those, you know, those moments when you snipe targets with Shadow Word Death, obviously with Death of Madness from the General Talent tree. And if you do one single target, Mind Flay Insanity deals a lot of damage so far. Obviously, damage, again, is tuning, so that could change, but it's particularly good because it kind of adds a nice little flow to your single target rotation, which usually can become slightly boring because, you know, the intricacies where AoE is at. There is a new capstone, which is Lunacy, which reduces the insanity cost of Devouring Plague by 10 and reduces the insanity drained when Mind Seer deals damage by 5. But again, similar to Derangement, it's a kind of a hybrid talent. It's reducing the insanity cost is, I can imagine, it's particularly good, especially when you stack them on a boss. Maybe this can be something that you would like to get for Tyrannical Mythic Plus. Obviously has some applications in raid. I don't know how it contends with the other capstones if we're going to be talking about raid damage, because obviously we have the right hand side, which we haven't talked about so far, and there's also a bunch of other Devouring Plague buffers in the town that I'm not going to mention all of them because it just take forever, that would make Lunacy maybe even better. So it's cool. There's so many options, and if they manage to balance them out where you can build multiple ways, this is a fantastic depiction of what synergies and, oh, I don't know what to do, I'll pick this and see how it is, this sounds fun, I'll pick that type mentality can do to a talent tree. So that's really cool. And speaking of the right hand side, there are a few new additions to Shadow, new additions in the sense that we haven't had them in Shadowlands. First of all is Dark Evangelism, which makes your Mind Flay and Mind Seer damage increase the damage of your dots by 1%, and it stacks up to 5 times, so your dots can deal 5% more damage. This will probably see more applications in AoE, because this side is kind of AoE-ish anyway. Although it's not that clear, it's not that cookie cutter, so there are ways that you can take this, let's say, in raids. Although 5% more dot damage might not be that impressive, considering that dot damage has been nerfed historically for all dot specs. But you do have Dark Ascension, which is a 2-minute cooldown, 1.5-second cast time. What this does is consumes the Dark Evangelism buffs on you and will make your non-dot damage deal 4% extra damage per stack consumed. And since you can have 5 stacks, it will probably rank up to like 20% extra damage on stuff like Mind Blast and Shadow Word Death, which is going to be really good. Especially, I can see this maybe in kind of an execute phase where targets won't need that many dots anymore, and then you'll just slap, or maybe pop this with Void Form and just have like back-to-back Void Bolts, Mind Blast, and stuff like that, which is going to be really, really cool. And speaking of, Void Form, or rather Void Eruption, is on the right-hand side, and it's a choice as in it's not gonna be mandatory. You can obviously pick it if it's the best option, but you don't have to play with Void Form if you don't want to, which is again a feedback that has been listened to by the devs, because a lot of people don't like Void Form. I personally enjoy it. I think it's my favorite Shadow Priest concept, but it is there and you can actually pick it if you want, and if you don't, you don't have to. And if you do pick it, you unlock Ancient Madness, which I actually am not a big fan of. It's a boring talent. It worked really well before when you could, you know, rotate a lot of Void Forms back to back with the old Void Form function, which I actually liked more, but I digress. This will actually unlock the capstone choice of Hungering Void, which has been a fan favorite and what you've probably been playing the most in Shadowlands. And Surrender to Madness, my favorite, because I like stupid shit. What do you want? Surrender to Madness still feels like it's going to be an AoE thing. It probably could be better than Hungering Void in Mythic Plus. I cannot see it being better in raids unless there's a fight where you have consistent ads coming on specific intervals that will take great advantage of Surrendering to Madness. Because one other addition to Surrender to Madness that I don't remember it having, at least not in the last iterations, because I feel like every expansion changes this ability, is that you can cast while moving throughout the entire duration. So that's really, really, really good. It's really good in dungeons. So it's probably going to be more of a reason to actually pick it, and I cannot wait for that. And this is like the first impression of Shadow Priest. I have played with it a little bit. I cannot wait to see how it feels at max level, because you still have missing points since we start from level 60, we have to level all the way up, but we did want to get you guys the information as soon as possible, and this is how it is. Hope you enjoyed it. Man, Shadow Priest looks so good, and cannot wait to see what beta does to it until Dragonflight Live comes out. Once again, thank you for supporting the channel. If you want to support us a bit more, the Patreon link is down below. Check out Patreon page. We appreciate it. Love you, Patreons, for always being there for us, and we'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye!
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.